What would you do if you discovered that the person who stole your inheritance was actually trying to save you? My name is Marcus Chen, and this is the story of how I went from hating my stepbrother to realizing he was the only family member I could trust. This is a story about deception, betrayal, and a criminal conspiracy that stretched back decades. And it all started with a house that should never have been sold. I was in a client meeting in downtown Seattle when my phone buzzed, then buzzed again and again. I glanced down discreetly. 3 missed calls from a Portland number I didn't recognize. Then a text from that same number. Marcus, this is Derek. Your mom is gone. Call me as soon as possible. Derek, my stepbrother. James's son from his first marriage. We hadn't spoken in over a year, not since the last awkward family dinner where Derek had shown up drunk and gotten into a screaming match with his father about money. Again, but that text, your mom is gone. I excused myself from the meeting and stepped into the hallway, my heart pounding. I called back. Derek answered on the first ring. Marcus, thank God. What happened? What do you mean mom is gone? She died, Marcus, last night. Heart failure. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. The world tilted. I grabbed the wall to steady myself. That's impossible. I just talked to her 3 days ago. She was fine. I know. It was sudden. The doctors said her heart just stopped. She went in her sleep. Marcus, there's something else. Something you need to know. What? The house. Your childhood home. The one your dad built. My father sold it. 2 weeks ago. I couldn't process what he was saying. Mom was dead, and Dad's house was sold? What are you talking about? He can't sell that house. Mom owned it. Dad left it to her in his will when he died. I know. But somehow, Dad transferred the deed into his name after he married your mom, and then he sold it. Marcus, I think something really bad is going on. I think my father has been... The line crackled. Derek? Derek, are you there? The call had dropped. I tried calling back. It went straight to voicemail. I called my boss and told him I had a family emergency. Booked the next flight to Portland. During the entire 3-hour journey, my mind raced with questions. Mom was dead. The house was sold. Derek had said something was going on with James. I hadn't wanted to believe it, but I'd had suspicions about James Sterling for years. He'd married my mother, Lily Chen, 3 years after my father died. I was 21 then, just finishing college. Mom had been lonely, vulnerable, and James had seemed perfect. Successful businessman, charming, attentive, but there had always been something off about him. The way he was too interested in Dad's estate. The way he'd slowly isolated Mom from her friends. The way he'd convinced her to add his name to various accounts for convenience. Derek had been 25 when our parents married. A quiet, intense guy who worked in IT. We'd gotten along okay at first, but then Derek had started acting strange, showing up at family events drunk or high, picking fights with his father, making wild accusations about James being a con artist. I'd thought Derek was just jealous, angry that his father had remarried. Now I wasn't so sure. When I arrived in Portland, I drove straight to the house, or what used to be our house. The beautiful craftsman-style home in the Laurelhurst neighborhood that my father, David Chen, had built with his own hands when I was 5 years old. Dad had been a master carpenter, an artist with wood. This house had been his masterpiece, custom woodwork, built-in bookshelves, a wraparound porch with hand-carved railings. Every inch of it had been made with love. And now there was a sold sign in the front yard. I sat in my rental car, staring at that sign, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. A for sale sign I could have understood, even if I hated it. But sold? Already? I called James. It went to voicemail. James, it's Marcus. I just flew in from Seattle. I heard about Mom. We need to talk. Call me back. Then I called Derek again. Still voicemail. I was about to drive to the funeral home when a beat-up Honda Civic pulled up behind me. Derek got out. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, his clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. But he looked sober, and his eyes were clear. Marcus. He walked up to my car. We need to talk. Not here. Follow me. Derek, what's going on? Where's your father? Just follow me, please. It's not safe to talk here. Not safe? What the hell was happening? I followed Derek to a small diner in southeast Portland. The kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting on the burner since 1985. We sat in a back corner booth. Derek ordered coffee. His hands shook slightly as he lifted the cup. Marcus, I don't even know where to do Kieras. Start? There's so much you don't know. So much I should have told you years ago, but I was scared, and I thought I could handle it myself, and Derek, start at the beginning. What happened to my mom? His jaw clenched. I don't think it was natural causes. I think my father killed her. The words hung in the air between us. That's insane. Derek, are you still using it? Because if this is some paranoid, I'm sober, 93 days clean. And I know how this sounds, but Marcus, just listen to me. Please. Something in his tone made me stop. This wasn't drunk Derek ranting. This was someone genuinely terrified. Okay, I'm listening. Derek pulled out a worn notebook and a tablet. My father is a con artist, a professional one. He's been doing this for at least 20 years, maybe longer. He opened the tablet to show me a document, a spreadsheet with names, dates, amounts. What am I looking at? A list of my father's victims. Women, mostly. Wealthy widows. He targets them, romances them, marries them, then systematically steals their assets. Sometimes he divorces them. Sometimes. Derek's voice cracked. Sometimes they die, unexpectedly. I looked at the list. There were 9 names. Next to each was a date range, an estimated net worth, and a final status. 5 said, divorced. 4 said, deceased. My mother's name was at the bottom. Lily Chen, 2018 to 2024, $2, 3M, deceased. This is insane. You're telling me James has killed 4 women? I'm telling you I've been investigating him for 3 years. Ever since I figured out what he was doing. Marcus, my own mother, his first wife, her name is on this list too. Derek pointed to the first name, Catherine Sterling, 1,998 to 2005, $800K, deceased. Wait, your mom died in a car accident. That's what everyone thinks. But I was 17 when it happened. I remember things that didn't make sense at the time. The way Dad was so calm when he got the news. The way he'd taken out a huge life insurance policy on her 6 months before she died. The way he remarried less than a year later to a wealthy widow who died 3 years after that. Derek flipped through pages of his notebook. I started researching after wife number 3 died, Diane Morrison. She was 62, healthy, then suddenly had a stroke and died. Dad inherited everything, her house, her investments, her business, $2 million. People have strokes, Derek. Not after their husbands forge power of attorney documents and systematically drain their bank accounts. I found proof, Marcus. I hacked into Dad's computer. I found templates for forged documents, shell companies he uses to hide assets, email exchanges with other con artists. Then why didn't you go to the police? Because I was a drug addict. Derek's voice rose, then dropped to an intense whisper. 3 years ago, I was using it heavily. Cocaine, pills, anything I could get my hands on. Who would believe me? My father is a respected businessman. I was the junkie son making wild accusations. I needed proof. Concrete, undeniable proof. So, what did you do? I got clean. I've been building a case, documenting everything, tracking his financial movements. I found the shell companies. He has 7 of them, all with slightly different variations of legitimate-sounding names. Sterling Investments LLC, Sterling Property Holdings, Sterling Asset Management. He uses them to move money around, hide assets from his wives before divorcing or after they die. Derek pulled out another document. And here's the thing about the house, Marcus. Your mom's house? Your dad's house? He showed me a property record. The house had been transferred from Lily Chen's name to James Sterling's name 18 months ago. How? Mom would never have agreed to that. Forged signature. Look at the notary stamp. I tracked down the notary. She doesn't remember notarizing any document for your mother. The seal is fake. Your mother never signed this transfer, but it's in the county records now, looking official. So James forged documents to steal the house. Not just the house, everything. Bank accounts, investment accounts, her life insurance policy. He's been systematically transferring everything into his name or into his shell companies. I felt sick. How much? Your mom was worth about $2.3 million, most of it from your dad's life insurance and the property he owned. James has moved about $1.8 million into his accounts, And he sold your childhood home for $850,000 to a shell company called Cascade Properties LLC. Let me guess, he owns Cascade Properties. Exactly. He sold the house to himself at half its market value. It's worth at least $1.6 million in today's market. He'll flip it in 6 months and pocket the full profit. Meanwhile, on paper, it looks like he only received $850,000 from the estate. That's fraud. That's theft. Derek, this is evidence. We can take this to the police right now. Derek shook his head. It's not enough. Not yet. Believe me, I've thought about this every single day for 3 years. But think about it from a prosecutor's perspective. We have circumstantial evidence, documents that could be explained away, a pattern that requires connecting multiple cases across multiple jurisdictions. And I'm his son. Any lawyer would say I have a motive to lie, that I'm angry about my inheritance, that I'm a recovering addict with credibility issues. So what's your plan? I've been working with a private investigator and a forensic accountant. We're building a comprehensive case, money trails, forged documents, witness statements from people he's conned. But we need more. We need something undeniable. We need to catch him in the act. Catch him doing what? Derek leaned forward. There's another woman. Sarah Rodriguez. 72-year-old widow in Seattle. Dad's been seeing her for the past 6 months. She's worth about $4 million. I think she's his next target. I think if we can document what he does with her, the romance phase, the financial manipulation, the asset transfer, we'll have a case that can't be ignored. You've been following him? For months. Marcus, I know this sounds crazy. I know I probably seem crazy, but I swear to you, everything I'm telling you is true. My father is a monster. He's been doing this for decades. And he got away with it because he's good at it, and because people like him, charming, successful older men, don't fit our image of criminals. I looked at Derek, really looked at him. The exhaustion in his face, the determination in his eyes, the evidence laid out on the table between us. You said Mom died of heart failure? That's what the death certificate will say. But Marcus, your mom was healthy. She hiked every weekend. She did yoga. She had a physical 6 months ago and everything was normal. People have heart attacks. People whose husbands have been slowly poisoning them have heart attacks. I found medications in Dad's bathroom that he has no prescription for. Cardiac medications. In high enough doses, they can cause fatal arrhythmias that look like natural heart failure. The words echoed something I'd read about in the news. A case where a stepmother had poisoned her husband with heart medication. Do you have proof? Not yet. I need the autopsy results. I need to request a comprehensive toxicology screen. But to do that, I need grounds, and being the stepson of the deceased doesn't give me legal standing. You, on the other hand, are her biological son. You can request further investigation. I wanted to believe Derek was wrong, that this was all a terrible misunderstanding, the paranoia of an addict seeing patterns that weren't there, but the evidence was hard to ignore. We went to the county records office and pulled documents related to the house sale. Derek was right, the signatures looked wrong. The notary stamp was from a notary who'd retired 4 years ago. We went to Mom's bank. Using my legal standing as her son, I requested account records. Over the past 18 months, there had been systematic withdrawals and transfers. $50,000 here, $75,000. They're all signed with electronic authorizations that Mom had supposedly approved. But Mom barely used email. She definitely didn't do online banking. She'd always been old-fashioned about money, preferring to go to the bank in person. These are all forged, I said, looking at the transfer authorizations. I know, Derek replied. But proving it is the hard part. The bank accepted them as legitimate. The money has gone transferred to accounts in James's name or into his shell companies. Where is your father now? Seattle, with Sarah Rodriguez. He practically lives there now. He told your mom he had business deals up there, that he needed to be on site. Really, he was grooming his next victim. We need to talk to him, confront him. No, Derek said firmly. Not yet. If we confront him now, he'll lawyer up cover his tracks, maybe disappear with whatever assets he's already transferred. We need to be smart about this. We need to build the case first, then bring in law enforcement. My mother is dead, Derek. I can't just sit around building a case while what? While he gets away with it? Marcus, I know you're angry. I'm angry too. He killed my mother. He killed your mother. He's killed at least 2 other women that I know of. But if we blow this now, he walks away free. Is that what you want? I took a deep breath. No. No, that's not what I want. Then we do this right. We document everything. We gather evidence. We make sure that when we bring this to the police, they have no choice but to investigate. Over the next week, Derek and I became reluctant partners. He showed me everything he'd gathered over 3 years of investigation. Files on James's previous wives and their suspicious deaths or sudden divorces. Financial records showing the pattern of asset transfers. Email. Printouts between James and associates who helped him create shell companies and forge documents. How did you get these emails? I asked. Derek looked uncomfortable. I hacked his computer. Installed spyware. I know it's illegal, and it probably means the emails can't be used as evidence in court, but they tell us what to look for. They're a roadmap. Derek had also been recording conversations with his father again, probably illegal without James's consent in Oregon, but informative nonetheless. In these recordings, James would brag to Derek about his business success, making vague references to lucrative deals and foolish investors. He thinks I'm too stupid to figure out what he really means, Derek said bitterly. He thinks I'm still the drug-addicted loser son who can't keep his life together. He has no idea I've been documenting everything. We went through Mom's personal effects, which James had boxed up and put in storage. Another red flag. Why rush to clear out her docs? Belongings? In those boxes I found Mom's diary. She'd kept one sporadically, mostly just noting daily activities and thoughts. But the entries from the past year told a disturbing story. March 2023, James has been strange lately, secretive about his phone calls. Says it's business, but something feels off. May 2023, James suggested I should sign a power of attorney, just in case something happens. I don't understand why. I'm only 58 and healthy. July 2023, found some papers in James's office, something about Cascade Properties. When I asked about it, he got defensive and angry. He's never been angry with me before. September 2023, I've been feeling so tired lately. Dizzy spells? James says I should see a doctor. He's been so attentive, making me tea, bringing me meals in bed. December 2023, Dr. Morrison says all my tests are normal. No reason for the fatigue. Maybe it's just stress? January 2024, I wanted to transfer some money to Marcus for his birthday, but James said we need to be more careful with finances. He's taken over managing our accounts. Says it's easier this way. March 2024, I don't feel like myself anymore. So tired all the time. James is wonderful, taking care of everything. I don't know what I'd do without him. The entries stopped in April. Mom had died in early November. He was poisoning her. I said, my voice hollow. That's why she was tired and dizzy. That's why she felt sick. Slow poisoning, Derek agreed. Small doses over time, making her dependent on him, making her too weak to question what he was doing with her finances. Then, when everything was transferred into his name, one final dose caused heart failure. We need an autopsy. A comprehensive toxicology screen. I already requested it, Derek said. Used your name as next of kin. The medical examiner's office said they'll expedite it. Given the circumstances, I told them there were concerns about potential foul play. When will we get the results? 2 to 4 weeks. Maybe sooner if we can convince them it's urgent. While we waited for the toxicology results, Derek suggested we go to Seattle and observe James with Sarah Rodriguez. I want to document the pattern, Derek explained. If we can show that he's doing to Sarah exactly what he did to your mom and my other victims, it strengthens our case. We drove to Seattle on a Friday. Derek had Sarah Rodriguez's address, a beautiful waterfront home in Madison Park, worth at least $3 million. We parked down the street and waited. Sure enough, around 7 p.m., James's Mercedes pulled into the driveway. He looked exactly the same as always, distinguished, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit. He carried flowers and a bottle of wine. Sarah answered the door. She was an attractive older woman, well-dressed, smiling warmly. She kissed James on the cheek and welcomed him inside. They look like a normal couple, I said. That's what makes him so effective, Derek replied. He's good at playing the role, the charming gentleman, the attentive partner. No one suspects that he's calculating exactly how much they're worth and how quickly he can transfer their assets into his control. We sat there for hours, just watching. At 11 p.m., the lights in the house went off. James's car was still in the driveway. He's staying the night, Derek said. He does that most weekends now. How long has he been seeing her? 6 months. That's his timeline. 6 months of romance, building trust. Then he proposes marriage, and within a year of marriage, the victim is either divorced and financially ruined or dead. We need to warn her. I tried, Derek said quietly. 3 months ago, I tried calling her. I didn't identify myself, just said she should be careful, that James Sterling wasn't who he claimed to be. She hung up on me and told James someone was harassing her. James changed his phone number and hers. Now I can't reach her without going through him. So what do? We gather evidence, we build the case, and when we have enough, we go to the police and to Sarah simultaneously. We make sure she's protected while James is arrested. Over that weekend, we followed James and Sarah around Seattle. They went to brunch at a fancy restaurant. I walked around Pike Place Market holding hands. Visited an art gallery. They looked happy, like a normal couple in love. It made me sick. On Sunday evening, we followed them to a bank. Wells Fargo in downtown Seattle. What are they doing here on a Sunday? I asked. Private banking services? Derek said. For wealthy clients, they open on weekends by appointment. We waited. 40 minutes later, James and Sarah emerged. Sarah looked happy, relaxed. James had his arm around her. I need to know what they did there, Derek said. Marcus, this is important. Can you go in and try to find out? How? I'm not a client. But you're a concerned citizen who noticed an elderly woman possibly being taken advantage of. Sometimes bank employees will talk if you express concern. It was worth a shot. I went into the bank. A young woman at the front desk greeted me. Hi, I'm not a client, but I'm wondering if I could speak to a manager? I just witnessed something concerning and I want to make sure an elderly woman isn't being taken advantage of. The woman's expression became serious. Of course. Let me get Mr. Harrison. A man in his 50s, wearing a suit, approached. I'm David Harrison, the branch manager. What's your concern? I was outside and I saw an elderly woman, probably early 70s, coming out with a man. They seemed happy, but I overheard him talking about transferring accounts and changing beneficiaries and... Look, my own mother was recently scammed by someone she trusted. I just wanted to make sure your bank has protocols to protect elderly clients from financial exploitation. Mr. Harrison's face became guarded. We take financial exploitation very seriously, but I can't discuss any specific client's business with you. I understand. But if an elderly client came in today to make major financial changes with someone significantly younger, you would make sure they're doing so of their own free will, right? You'd verify they understand what they're signing. We have very strict protocols. Every major transaction requires identification, verification, signature confirmation, and for elderly clients, we often conduct separate interviews to ensure they're not being coerced. Did you conduct a separate interview today? Mr. Harrison's jaw tightened. Sir, I really can't discuss, please. My mother died 2 weeks ago because someone manipulated her into signing over her assets. If you have protocols to prevent that, I just want to know they're being used. Something in my tone must have moved him because his expression softened slightly. I can tell you that we did follow our protocols today. We interviewed the client separately. She was adamant about her decisions and seemed completely lucid and uncoerced. But, he paused, we did note some concerns in her file. Large transfers in a short period of time can be a red flag. We flagged the account for monitoring. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. Back in the car, I told Derek what the manager had said. So, Sarah is transferring assets, Derek said grimly. Adding James to her accounts. Probably changing beneficiaries on her life insurance and will. Classic pattern. But the bank is monitoring it. Doesn't matter. By the time the bank realizes something is wrong, the money will be gone. James is good at moving assets quickly. He'll transfer Sarah's money into his shell companies, then dissolve those companies and create new ones. By the time anyone investigates, the money trail is so convoluted it takes years to untangle if it can be untangled at all. So, we're just going to watch him do it? No. We're going to stop him, but we need more evidence first. 3 weeks after Mom's death, the toxicology report finally arrived. Dr. Patricia Wong told us, Mom's blood contained digoxin at 5 times the safe level enough to cause the fatal arrhythmia that killed her. Since Mom had no heart condition and no prescription, Dr. Wong ruled it a homicide. The drug had to have been given to her over time. Derek told her he suspected his father, James Sterling, and had found unprescribed cardiac meds in his possession. Dr. Wong urged us to go straight to the police. We met with Detective Robert Nguyen at the Portland Police Department and spent 3 hours explaining everything. Mom's death, the poison, James's pattern of targeting widows, the forged documents, the financial fraud, and Derek's 3-year investigation. We handed over all our evidence. Detective Nguyen said the toxicology report was enough to open a homicide investigation and get a warrant to search James's home, car, and office. Other victims' cases would require coordination across states and possibly the FBI. Derek insisted Sarah Rodriguez was in immediate danger, but the detective needed concrete proof to intervene. He advised us to warn her ourselves and to file a civil lawsuit to freeze James's assets while the criminal case built. It wasn't everything we hoped for, but it was a start. While Detective Nguyen worked on getting a warrant, Derek and I developed a plan to warn Sarah Rodriguez. "We need to get to her when she's alone," Derek said. "When my father isn't around to intercept us." "How do we know when she's alone?" "I've been tracking his patterns." Thursday afternoons, he drives back to Portland for a few hours. He tells Sarah it's for business meetings. Really, he's checking on properties and meeting with his associates. That's our window. On Thursday, we drove to Seattle again. We watched James leave Sarah's house around 1 p.m., heading south toward Portland. We waited 15 minutes to make sure he was really gone, then we approached Sarah's front door. I rang the bell. My heart was pounding. Sarah answered, looking confused. "Yes? Can I help you?" "Miss Rodriguez, my name is Marcus Chen. This is Derek Sterling. We need to talk to you about James Sterling. It's urgent." Her expression changed immediately. Suspicion, defensiveness. "How do you know James? What is this about?" "Derek is James's son. James married my mother 3 years ago. She died 2 weeks ago. Miss Rodriguez, please, we just need 5 minutes of your time. Your life may be in danger." "My life in danger? From James?" She looked at us like we were insane. "I don't know what kind of scam this is, but I'm calling the police." "Please don't," Derek said quickly. "We're not here to scam you. We're here to warn you. My father is not who you think he is. He's a con artist. He's been doing this for decades, marrying wealthy women, stealing their assets, then either divorcing them or they die. Unexpectedly." Sarah's hand was on the door, ready to close it. "This is absurd. James is a successful businessman. He loves me. We're getting married next month." "Miss Rodriguez, please," I said desperately. My mother said the same thing. She trusted him completely. And now she's dead, poisoned with cardiac medication. The medical examiner ruled it a homicide. That made her pause. Poisoned? With digoxin, a heart medication. She died of heart failure, but it wasn't natural. Someone gave her a fatal dose. The police are investigating James right now. Sarah's face went pale. No, James wouldn't. He's been nothing but kind and loving. He's helped me so much since my husband died. He's been managing my investments, helping me organize my finances." "That's what he does," Derek interrupted. "He helps you organize your finances, which really means he's figuring out exactly what you're worth and how to transfer it into his control." "Miss Rodriguez, have you changed any beneficiaries on your accounts? Added James's name to anything? Signed any power of attorney documents?" She was silent for a moment too long. "You have, haven't you?" Derek pressed. "Let me guess, he said it was for convenience, for safety, so that if anything happened to you, he could take care of things. He made it sound romantic, like it was a sign of trust and commitment. How do you know that?" "Because he did the same thing to my mother, and to Marcus's mother, and to at least 6 other women before them. It's his pattern. Romance, trust, access to finances, asset transfer, and then," Derek's voice broke, "and then you die. Or you wake up one day and discover you're broke because he's transferred everything to shell companies and disappeared." Sarah's hands were shaking. I can't believe this. James wouldn't." I pulled out my phone and showed her the documents Derek had compiled. "This is a list of his previous wives and partners. 4 of them are dead. 5 of them divorced him after discovering he'd stolen their money. Miss Rodriguez, my mother died 2 weeks ago. The toxicology report shows she was poisoned. And right now, James is doing to you exactly what he did to her." Sarah looked at the documents, her face growing paler. "I need you to leave," she said quietly. I need to think." "Miss Rodriguez, please," Derek said. "Don't tell James we were here. If he knows we've warned you, he'll accelerate his timeline. He'll either disappear with your money or he'll what? Kill me? Like you're claiming he killed your mothers? Her voice was rising, hysteria creeping in. This is insane. You're asking me to believe that the man I love, the man I'm planning to marry, is a serial killer. Based on what? Documents you printed off the internet? Paranoid conspiracy theories? Based on evidence, I said firmly. Based on a medical examiner's report ruling my mother's death a homicide. Based on police investigation. Miss Rodriguez, I know this is hard to believe. I know you want to trust James. But please just be careful. Don't sign anything else. Don't transfer any more money. Watch what you eat and drink around him. And if you start feeling sick, dizzy, tired, nauseous, go to the hospital immediately and demand a toxicology screen. Tears were streaming down Sarah's face. Get out, please. Just get out. We left. There was nothing else we could do. In the car, Derek slumped in the driver's seat. She's not going to believe us. She's going to tell James, and then he's going to disappear. Maybe that's not the worst thing, I said. If he disappears, at least Sarah is safe. But he gets away with it. Again. And he just finds another victim. We were wrong about one thing. Sarah did believe us. Or at least, she was smart enough to be cautious. 2 days later, Derek got a call from Detective Nguyen. We executed the warrant on Sterling's property. You need to come to the station. At the station, Detective Nguyen showed us what they'd found. In James's home office, a safe containing multiple passports under different names, forged documents, financial records for shell companies, and most damning bottles of digoxin, warfarin, and other cardiac medications. None of them were prescribed to James. We also found detailed notes. Detective Nguyen said, essentially a manual for how to manipulate vulnerable women, how to forge documents, how to move money without detection. Your father kept records of everything, Mr. Sterling. It's like he was proud of it, like it was a game. Where is he now? Derek asked. We arrested him 3 hours ago. He's being held without bail on charges of murder, fraud, and illegal possession of controlled substances. The DA is preparing additional charges. What about Sarah Rodriguez? I asked. Is she safe? Miss Rodriguez called us yesterday. After you spoke to her, she reviewed her financial records and discovered several unauthorized transfers totaling $800,000. She also found documents in Sterling's belongings at her home, forged paperwork that would have transferred her house into his name. She cooperated fully with our investigation and provided additional evidence. Thank God, we'd reached her in time. Detective Nguyen told us the case had expanded. The FBI was now involved, and they'd identified 12 women James targeted over 20 years. 4 were dead and being exhumed, 5 had divorced him after he stole their assets and were ready to testify, and 3, including Miss Rodriguez, were in the middle of being exploited when police intervened. 12, Derek whispered. I only found 9. Nguyen assured him his investigation was crucial and that the FBI wanted to interview him further. When I asked about my mother's stolen money, the detective said all of James's accounts, properties, and shell companies were frozen. It would take time to sort out, but I would eventually recover her estate. The house sale, based on forged documents, could also be reversed. Dad's house might come back to me after all. James Sterling's trial drew national attention. Reporters called him the Black Widower, a man who spent 2 decades marrying wealthy widows, draining their assets, and killing them when they became inconvenient. The evidence was overwhelming: poisoning reports, forged documents, stolen accounts, survivor testimony, and most powerfully, James's own files detailing each woman's net worth, weaknesses, and planned timeline of manipulation. It was cold, calculated, and undeniable. Derek testified about the 3 years he spent investigating his father while getting sober. I didn't go to the police sooner because no one would have believed me, he said. I was an addict with no credibility. I'm sorry I couldn't save Marcus's mother or my own. When I testified, I spoke about Mom, her kindness, how she rebuilt her life after Dad's death, and how James slowly isolated her. The defense tried to imply I'd failed her, but the prosecutor made it clear James Sterling fooled everyone. He was a professional predator, and none of us could have seen the truth until it was too late. The trial lasted 6 weeks. The jury deliberated for 3 days. Guilty on all counts, 4 counts of first-degree murder, 8 counts of fraud, dozens of counts of theft and forgery. The judge sentenced him to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. As they led James away, he looked at Derek with something like disappointment. "I taught you everything you know," James said. "You could have worked with me. We could have been partners. Instead, you betrayed your own father." Derek's voice was steady. "You're not my father. My father died a long time ago. You're just a monster wearing his face." 6 months after the trial, Derek and I stood in front of my parents' house, the one James tried to steal. The sale had been overturned, Mom's assets recovered, and her estate restored to me. Derek had been with me through every step of the process. What began as reluctant cooperation had turned into real brotherhood. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you," I told him. "I was a paranoid addict," he said. "But I was also right about my father." Derek stayed sober through the investigation and trial. He found a therapist, joined a support group, and started advocating for elder abuse victims. I told him I planned to live in the house. He was happy about that. He shared his own plans using his FBI reward money to launch a consulting firm helping families detect financial exploitation. "You're a hero," I told him. "I don't feel like one," he said. "I feel like a son who couldn't stop his father." "Then we're the same," I answered. "But we stopped him, and we'll keep helping others." That day we cleaned out every trace of James. Then we restored the home, refinishing Dad's woodwork, repainting Mom's rooms, fixing the porch, reclaiming the house. Felt like reclaiming our lives. One night on the porch, Derek admitted he felt sad not for James, but for the father he never truly had, for the victims, for what was wasted. I admitted I felt the same about my mother. "But we're brothers now," Derek said. "Something good came out of all this." Over the next year, our partnership grew. We testified at hearings to keep James in prison, consulted on other cases, launched the Lily Chen Foundation, and helped families recognize predatory behavior. Mitchell Properties expanded into safe senior housing. The house became our base for meetings, advocacy, and healing. The widows James targeted, survivors, and victims' families joined our mission. We made sure the women who died, including our mothers, were honored and remembered. 2 years later, James sent us a letter. We opened it together. He admitted everything: the manipulation, the murders, the thrill he got from winning, and the truth that he never loved anyone in a real way. He said Mom was the only woman who almost made him stop, but when she questioned his finances, he chose self-preservation over affection. He apologized, but not for redemption, more as a confession before dying in prison. When we finished reading, Derek crushed the letter. "He's still trying to get in our heads," he said. We burned it in the fireplace and gave him nothing more, not forgiveness, not attention. 5 years after the conviction, Derek and I stood on stage as keynote speakers at an elder abuse prevention conference. His consulting firm had become nationally respected. Mitchell Properties now included affordable senior housing with built-in safeguards. The Lily Chen Foundation was thriving. After our talk, a woman told us she saved her grandmother by recognizing the patterns in our story. Moments like that made everything worthwhile. That night, we ate at Mom's favorite Thai restaurant. The owner brought us spring rolls, the way your mom loved them. Derek wondered if our mothers would be proud. I knew they would. On the drive home, Derek said, "The best revenge is living well. James took a lot from us, but he didn't win." Back home, I found an old photo from Mom's wedding to James. She looked happy. James looked convincing. Derek stood off to the side, already suspicious, already right. "You were right all along," I told him. "I wish I hadn't been," he said. But we stopped him. Together. We put the photo away, the past belonged there, the future was ours to build. "Brothers?" I said. "Brothers?" Derek answered. And we kept going, two men shaped by tragedy, united by purpose, determined to protect others from the monster who once tore our families apart. This is Marcus Chen, reminding you that sometimes the people you're supposed to distrust turn out to be the only ones you can trust. And sometimes, the brother you never wanted becomes the family you needed. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe. Share it with someone who has elderly family members. Awareness can save lives. Leave a comment below. Have you ever suspected someone in your family was being exploited? What did you do? How can we better protect vulnerable people from predators? Remember, trust your instincts. Ask questions. Check in on your elderly loved ones. And if you see something suspicious, speak up. You might just save a life.